All right, so good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being with us for the After Work panel discussion. Today, we'll be diving into the topic of business success and exploring how business owners charted their own path to success before, during, and after the COVID lockdown last year. So before we get started, I want to introduce our panel of guest speakers. First, we have Mr. Pedro Harris, who's the owner of Legacy Sports Barbershop in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Ali McMurtry, who's the owner of McMurtry Virtual Services, Sabrina Burke, who is a virtual controller at Perlson Accountants and Advisors, Mr. Dontae T. Muse, who is a co-owner of Above Art Studios in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and myself, Tiffany Richardson. I am the owner of Artisan-Preneur here in Virginia Beach and the co-owner of Cyber Gaming Cafe, which will also be here in Virginia Beach as well. So before we get started, please take a note of a few things. At the top of the chat, there are a few links for the Innovation Center, as well as the contact information for all of our guest speakers. Also, there's a link to a post-event survey that we would like for you to fill out at the conclusion of the event this evening. Lastly, remember to mute your mics, and if you have any questions or comments at any point during the discussion, please raise your hand, and we would love to include you in the conversation. So without further ado, let's get started. So first question or area of business, let's have everyone introduce themselves and describe a little bit about their business or field that they're currently in. So, and this is popcorn style, anyone can get started, so go ahead. Miss Sabrina, we'll start.
All right, I'll break in. So my name is Sabrina Burke. I started my career 15 years ago that I was just doing some light office work and bookkeeping while I was supplementing my income after college. And now I've worked my way up to being a virtual controller, and I'm the manager of a bookkeeping team within a CPA firm. And we provide full charge bookkeeping services to clients that are all over the US and in Canada, and a few drips and drabs in some other countries.
Anyone can go next.
Yes, my name is Pedro Harris. I'm the owner of Legacy Sports Barbershop and also Legacy Barber Academy. Basically, I opened up in 2012, and we've been, the barber school opened up in 2017. And so basically what we do is we just train individuals so that they can have an established career in barbering. And for my ones who work at the barbershop, our main agenda is to service our communities and to make sure that they're suitable for whatever purposes they want to get their haircuts, and to have a professional and clean environment while doing so.
All right, who would like to go next? Miss Ali.
I suppose I could go next. Hello, I am Ali McMurtry. I am owner of McMurtry Virtual Services, which is a virtual bookkeeping company located in Nebraska. So, and I work mainly with women-owned businesses around the United States.
I'm Dontae T. Muse, art director and co-owner of Above Art Studios, award-winning fine art gallery in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and art event space. We opened in 2016, and we're actually getting ready to celebrate our 5-year anniversary on the 13th of November. So, yeah, we officially arrived. We made it through, and the last ones weren't easy at all. And unfortunately, we didn't get any of that PPP money either. That would have been nice. But yeah, they didn't send it our way. I guess all the scammers got to it before we got to it, but we made it through. So
awesome, and I will go. My name is Tiffany Richardson. I am the owner of Artisan-Preneur and a co-owner of Cyber Gaming Cafe. Artisan-Preneur actually started as Heads Up Boutique in 2017 when I was attending Norfolk State University for a bachelor's in entrepreneurship. After doing 5 years of business and a lot of market research, I decided this year to restructure my business and turn it into an entity that really encompasses all of the creative avenues that I have in my life. So that includes artisan skincare, that includes visual art, mixed media visual art, as well as anything crafty that I do, and my micro business consulting. And then as a co-owner of Sabrina Gaming Cafe, we are currently in the process of putting together a pitch deck for investors, and hopefully we are going to open next year here in Virginia Beach. Sabrina Gaming Cafe is a PC and console gaming cafe where we will have over 40 gaming PCs and over 50 gaming consoles such as Xbox, PlayStation, Wii, and Switch, and VR and AR systems, as well as we are in the process of implementing an esports program for the local community. And I believe that is it so far. So like I said, we are slated to pitch to investors in December and hopefully start building and establishing a presence in the community next year. So that is me. So let's see, let's get started.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Let's see, so first question, what were your thoughts, and this can be anybody, what were your thoughts or plans in reference to your business before COVID began? So let's say winter of 2019, where were you in your business? What were your future plans right before COVID began?
I gotta go first, I guess. So right before everything happened, we were actually in talks with the property management of the huge building that we're a part of to get the space next door and to expand our gallery space. We were actually also looking at a couple of healthcare initiatives and possibly, opening up additional galleries in other cities. And then, that happened and shut everything down. I'm glad we were in the position we were in at the time, and we didn't make that move because we definitely wouldn't have made it through, having extended square footage to pay for every month and other expenses. So it was a good thing that it happened right before we actually did it instead of happening after. So now that things are slowly starting to roll back out, not sure exactly if we're still going to go that direction just yet, but that was our plans before everything happened.
Anyone else?
Well, I had been working for several years as a part-time bookkeeper, just jumping around from job to job. So I'd work one place twice a week, somewhere else once a week. And starting in January 1st, I started a full-time employment at a CPA office, not the one I'm currently at, a different one. And my goal was going to be to learn things that were sort of above my station. So not bookkeeping related, but I was going to start to learn a little bit more about depreciation schedules, about taxes, and then consider going the CPA route. And in hindsight, I'm so glad I didn't, because there's 1,000,001 CPAs, but there's not a lot of people who can do what I do. And what ended up happening through COVID was I became so very much better at what I do instead of trying to be something else that I increased my value anyway. But that was my initial goal, was I've been bookkeeping for so long, what's my next step? And it seemed obvious to go the CPA route. So that was the trajectory, was to learn under accounting professionals. It did not go that way.
I'll say where we were, and this is when Artisan-Preneur was Heads Up Boutique, we were just planning on going to more markets. I had paid for a year's worth of market space, of vendor space in our community. And I was still in the spot where I was like, if the market doesn't like, if I can't find what the market wants, I'm going to force the market to like what I'm putting out. That's what I was constantly doing, Allie. And I think it was because I was so, at the time I was so frustrated. I was slightly disappointed in myself because I had gotten a business degree. Actually, I just graduated from Norfolk State with my degree. And I felt like I spent all this time learning about business, and I still don't know anything about business. I didn't, my plan was to continue to try to apply what I had learned in school to my business and to real world events. And honestly, I'm so glad that, I'm not happy with what happened because of COVID, but I'm so glad that the isolation, because that's really what it was, at least to me, the isolation of lockdown took place because I literally had to step away from myself and say, hey, stop being so stubborn. Because if you're going to continue to be stubborn and force people to, or try to force people to like what you're making, you're going to end up living in a cardboard box under an overpass with like not even enough money to afford windows. Like that's just, I'm not going to be successful at all. And so that's what I was planning on doing. I was planning on, essentially in a nutshell, to continue doing the same thing and expecting different results. So that's what my plans were for 2020.
Yeah. I think for me, there were several things I was working on as far as on the barbershop side. I was trying to find ways to increase or to maximize my income. The barbershop income. I was trying to, I had just raised the prices, for the haircuts. I just raised the booth rent and found a way where we can get extra, just a few dollars from off of each walk-in, for the business, not for the barber, but for the business, the entirety of the business. As far as on the school side, I was trying to become more efficient. My plans was to see what I could do to reach out to more people that wanted to take the course online, because we had, of course, we only have so much space at the school, so I figure online, there's no space requirement for that, and so that was in my mind. Also, I have something that I was doing along with the barbershop in school was this barber brand right here. But I was doing this BarberPro, and so I've always been doing apparel. So I had just begun marketing this, like selling it in the barbershop, and for my barber students, and then everything hit. And, so, we can have so many plans, and then, everything just hit. And then it's like, you have to kind of, I guess as we get into the discussion more and more, I can say like how it really worked out for me. But at that particular point, when everything hit, some of my stuff it just slowed down. So, but I had plenty of plans, and all I was trying to do was just try to increase income, become more efficient in each of those different areas.
So I was in a state of flux at the end of 2019. At that point, I was at the end of my first year of business. And when I originally opened my business, I was actually a VA, because I have a very big love of office procedures. So when I started my business, I was like dead sure that being a VA was what I wanted to do. And by the end of 2019, I was like, this sucks. what was I thinking? And so the beginning of 2020, I took a hiatus from my business. I was just like done. I was like, I don't know if this thing is going to keep moving or if it's just dead in the water, but I'm going to take a break. So that's basically what I did. At the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, I was like, hey, bills are rolling into my household. I got to be an adult about this. So we're going to pause this thing that I might kind of be working on. And I'm going to go get a job. We'll see what happens. So yeah, so that was the beginning of my pandemic time, if you will.
So what happened whenever the lockdowns began? Like how did you expect the shutdown the various shutdowns of other businesses and lockdowns? How did you expect all of those things to affect your business in the short term and the long term?
I think at first, everybody thought it was going to be, a quicker situation. So I don't think anybody really planned, for long term initially. It was kind of just, up and down, we'll do this and we'll be out of it real quick. And once it started to look like it was going to be more than, an easy fix, I think a lot of businesses, I know we did, started to pivot with business models and figure out ways to produce income and or, negotiate with your merchants, with your partners, with anybody you might owe some type of money to, and, just keep the lines of communication open. And the uncertainty kind of froze a lot of people, I think, which worked in the favor of business owners for a second, because nobody knew what was going on. So nobody forced you, or at least legally, initially. You couldn't be forced out of anything. So it kind of gave you a second to figure things out and to regroup. If you were going to make it through, you had to show some type of tenacity and call an audible, run a different play. So I think that was it. Just like, okay, so we can no longer do this. What can we do? And, just figuring that out.
Yeah, I'm going to say the weird thing about my job and my position is the news and the conversation was mostly about businesses shutting down. And my business revved up so hard and so fast because not only did my regular clients need all of their information to get those PPP loans, but people who didn't have bookkeeping services were now begging, please update my payroll, please update my books, please help me get these PPP loans in. And instead of working part-time, like everybody else who cut their hours or cut their pay, I was working 60, 70 hours a week, not seeing the sun come up or go down while teaching from home with the remote school children. But the idea of it didn't make me any more money. My salary was my salary, but I had a drive to save people's jobs. And if I could save the employers, I could save the employees. So I refocused my whole job. Instead of just worrying about people's bottom lines, I was concerned about how we can save the ship from sinking and just started plugging up holes. But my main focus was educating people, educating the business owners on what they need to have and how they need to shift focus. Like you said, if you have a retail brick and mortar shop and your employees and your customers can't come in, how are you reaching your employees? Now let's focus on that. You need to do delivery service, pickup service, online, marketing to be able to get your customers to see what you're doing or what you're selling or what your product or what your food is. And so it opened opportunities for the employers, but the fear was about the employees. You have the unemployment situation where a lot of people hadn't thought about that process before and what it meant and how long you have to wait for a paycheck. You have landlords who weren't getting paid, people who were actually willing to negotiate that never would have negotiated before. So all of a sudden the payables that are outstanding, they're okay with you being on hold, because if they get money in, they might lose their PPP. So you could take advantage of that and saying, so now I have 6 months reprieve where I have 50% is due. What can I do with that money to refocus what I'm doing? And the whole time trying to make sure that the employees of all of my clients felt secure, that they were being considered, taken care of, and the plan was to get them to return to work, whether it was remote or not. How can you help if you can't physically be here? But everything was short term. Like he said, there was no long-term thought process. 2021 did not exist. The calendar didn't flip over until the day before. It really was a day by day, a week by week, a deadline by deadline in the accounting field. And how are we going to make it from now to next month and make sure that everybody can still eat and take care of their families? And I think the good thing is it sort of turned the offices, instead of being structured, into more of a community, because now we're all in this together. So it did change the focus, but it also changed the culture a little bit. And meanwhile, I just worked from home with computers and screens. I didn't see a single person, but I'm like the man behind the curtain. Nobody saw the buttons I was pushing and the levers I had, but I hope that I helped a lot of people get through a time when they felt so uncertain about how things were going to go, and that the work that I put in and the hours that I didn't spend with my family or bored watching TV, I was sitting at my desk pounding through, that helped other people get to where they needed to be so they could sleep well at night. I lost so much sleep, but I'm hoping that some of the things I did help other people get sleep that they weren't going to get otherwise. So it was all short-term goals.
I think for me, when it happened, honestly, and actually I felt like this at least until like the fall. I was like, man, I hope this continues till next year. This is awesome. Because I was already used to doing things at home. When I got out of the military, I had one traditional job, and that was working at the shipyard. Worked at the shipyard for a year, and after that, I was just I literally kind of did what I wanted. I had whatever part-time job I wanted. I had a choice of whether I wanted to work from home. I had a choice of whether I wanted to be in a physical place, and so I think while the guys were, I mean, they were at home because, everything was locked down, but I was still working. And the only issue that I had, the only, I guess, worry that I had was with my skincare business. And it was because I completely, I relied so much on being in person, selling in person, taking a product and sticking it in someone's face and saying, hey, smell this. It smells like sandalwood bourbon or pizza or bacon or margarita. Like, I was able to say something or provide a sign in text, but then also provide another way for someone else to experience what I was making. I lost that whenever we went into lockdown, and I did not know how to provide valuable information online via social media or my website. I didn't understand how to translate what I was doing in person to text and then provide that through social media or my website. And so I was lost. And so I kind of crawled into a hole when it came to my skincare business. And I was like, I'm not going to do this right now. I'm going to do something else. And what I actually started doing was making face masks. I had to be assigned. My grandfather had, for some reason, we had been in Jersey a couple months prior to the pandemic starting. and he gave me a sewing machine and 3 pairs of jeans and said, can you patch up these holes? And I was like, really, Pap? You bought a whole sewing machine that was like $300 for 3 pairs of jeans? And so I just happened to have a sewing machine in my house, and I still needed to do grocery shopping and things like that. And so this was before I was really big on doing everything online. And so I wanted to make sure that my kids had face masks because, you know, just as everyone had previously stated, like nobody knew what was going on. And nobody really knew like how severe it was and how contagious everything was. And so all I knew is we still needed food. And so I made some face masks, and then I thought maybe I could sell some face masks. And within about 30 days, my dining room became a sweatshop, like a literal sweatshop. And I had never made so much money on Etsy in my life. I think because of that, I learned how much of a leader I am, and I learned how determined I can be, and that I'm not required to do one thing. I'm not required to only do skincare. I can do other things at the same time. And I learned a lot about myself. I learned that if I really want to do something, I am able to make sure that I can provide high quality products or services no matter what I'm doing, as long as that is what I want to do. And that's what happened. We ended up making like 2,000 or 3,000 face masks within 2 months. It got to a point where I didn't like making face masks. What I liked doing was I felt really good because I saw the reviews that people were giving me on Etsy, and I felt like I was actually helping other people. People were requesting so many face masks for children. It got to the point where face masks were such a commodity that people were stealing them from the mail. I had an order, a very large order. It was like 28 face masks that we had to make for one order. And it was for a family that was moving from Florida to New York. And we found out that someone in the shipping company that we used actually tore open the package. And I was so mad because they stole only a set of face masks that had a specific pattern. Yeah, it was crazy. And the pattern was really hard. It was difficult to get. I remember at the time, Walmart was having shortages of fabric. And Pedro, I don't know, I'm pretty sure you shop at the same Walmart that I do up the street from your shop. There was nothing on the shelves. There was just like nothing. It was hard. I think everybody kind of had the same idea. Stores were out of face masks. We need to do something. And so everybody, at least in our area, we were all making our own face masks, at least for our families and our communities. And so it was hard to come by fabric in general. There were no sewing machines on the shelves. And so I put the skincare aside, and I said, people are more worried about their health and not their luxury skincare items. And so I actually felt slightly at ease with putting that business to the side. And, I think I also felt okay if I even gave those masks away for free. I just felt really, really good that we were able to give me and my family, because that's who helped. It was me. The kids were forced to help. But it was me, the kids, my mother, my friend's daughter, people. I did not expect such commitment from people at all to work, however many hours they were working at their primary jobs, but then to come to my house and work, 3, 4, 5 hours into the night making face masks for people that they didn't even know. And I tried to pay them. I swear, I tried to pay them. Pedro, next time you see my mother, I'm telling you, I tried to pay her. And nobody would take any of the money. They said, put it back into the business. And so those 60 days were the days where I learned how to scale a business quickly and how to come up with processes and how to train employees or contractors or whoever was helping me with my business. And so I'm thankful for that time, because that's something that I don't think I would have ever learned in a school ever. So that was there really wasn't the short term for me for skincare. I completely forgot about it, and I refocused what I was doing on what was needed the most, and that was face masks. Anyone else?
Did you want to go, Allie? Okay. For me, I'm gonna tell you, we were watching the news, waiting to see what the governor was going to say, and so finally, when the announcement came that the shops were going to be shut down, I guess for me, I hadn't taken a vacation recently, prior to then. So for me, it was like, well, I had a lot of things on my plate. I'm always wearing all these different hats. So I was like, okay, it could be a little break. Maybe we might, it's kind of like what Dontae was saying, that like, maybe we might be just out for maybe a week or two, and so we were out and, I'm getting up, like my family's getting up in the morning, just seeing what they do. I'm one of them, for a while. And then I got tired of it. Like, hey, I got to work, what's going on. So, and that's when I think everyone has their ear to the news and their eyes glued to the news. Okay, what are they saying now? What are they saying now? Any piece of information that goes on. I think I was using Newsbreak app, looking at the numbers, reading everything it's saying, and just trying to gauge, listening to anything the governor might have said. I wasn't too worried about the rent at the shop, because in my mind, I'm like, well, this is COVID. This is COVID. Like we can't pay the rent. I wasn't even thinking about it, because I was like, I know we're not going to have to pay the rent. And I wasn't getting booth rent on Fridays. No, I'm not getting that. And so basically it got to a point to where it was mentally, like my barbers didn't hear from me. I saw them messaging each other. We have a group feed, and I wasn't really saying anything. I guess I wasn't saying anything because it's like I ain't really know what to say. I'm usually the leader, but I kind of got to a little slight depression. I don't know if I want to say depression, but like I was stuck, trying to figure out what am I about to do? Which way am I going to go? And so eventually, so then I said, okay, well, you know what? I still got the school. And so I started doing classes for the school on Zoom. I notified, sent emails to all my students, hey, we're going to be doing classes on Zoom. This is your day. This is your day. And so we started doing that. I started cutting a few people's hair in my garage. A few of my I couldn't let anybody just come. Just some of the customers that I kind of know, they can come to the garage. I'll cut their hair. So, and that, as far as, we took a loss. That was a financial loss. That wasn't something that was anticipated, and so, and that's what it was. And I'm going to tell you, we were looking for face masks. We were looking for sanitizer. We were looking for toilet paper. We were looking for paper towels, all of those commodities that everybody needed. It got to the point where I did go to that Walmart, and I went to some other places and I ordered fabric. And I was like, I'm gonna do the fabric, and because I have a full shop downstairs, right, to make shirts and everything with. You could have came to my house and got the fabric, because I never used it. It's still there right now. Big things of fabric, because my mindset was on, I'm gonna do it, and I watched the YouTubes on how to do it, but now I was like, I kind of, I'm a firm believer in, like, let the people who do stuff put the work in. Like you know what I mean? Unless there's some benefit. I don't want to sound selfish, but like, let's say cutting the grass. Let the people that cut the grass cut my grass. because I'm thinking about time. So I'd rather give them the money. Me and my friends call it buying our time back. But the only reason why I'll cut my own grass though is because it's therapeutic for me. So I will do it, but let it be something else. I'm going to pay somebody because I'm going to buy my time back and do something that I know I do. So after I got all these materials for the mask, I was like, wait a minute, what am I doing? What am I doing? Like, I don't make masks. I'll go ahead and decorate masks, but as far as like sewing them and so forth, that's not my thing. I never made one mask. So what carried me through though, from that time throughout that, I mean, it was hard. It was rough, And then also, let me add this, although I'm a shop owner, I had to get unemployment. I had to apply for it, but then I was upset because I was like, wait a minute, we're they're categorizing us as entertainment. And I didn't see anything entertainment about my field because that's what we were categorized as. The hair industry was categorized as entertainment. The entertainment venues that Jump and all these different places that people go to, they put us with that. We're not entertainment, because I'm thinking about all the important events that people need haircuts for in their life. Like, they're not looking at that like it's entertainment. They're graduating, they're going to funerals, they're going to weddings, and we're providing that service for them. And I was upset because I was like, before they just shut us down or keep us shut down and categorize us as entertainment and say that we're non-essential, at least give us some mandates on, hey, you can only have this many people in the shop, or some of the things that came during phase one, could we have just had that all along and just not shut down? But it was like that in the beginning. So it was kind of stressful. Just didn't know when it was going to end.
Can I just say, one, I gave my son so many haircuts. One was worse than the next. So non-essential is baloney. Two, the politicians that went out to get their hair done and got caught on the news for this non-essential service, I look at it as health and maintenance. And that's how it should be looked at, because it is important. And if it wasn't, they wouldn't have gotten caught doing it. So you are right and they are wrong. It's unfathomable.
I had the very unique pleasure and in the morbid sense. My job that I ended up getting was as a part-time librarian for my local library, which doesn't sound like it would be a morbid pleasure, but I don't know if you know librarians, but they love information, like to the point of overload. And so I am in rural Nebraska. Like, we have less than 10,000 people in my town. We got, it took a little while for our town to actually get hit with any kind of cases, even though we were really close to a national hospital that was taking on COVID patients. But they were so excited about news. Did you see what they said on XYZ Place? And well, that's not what the CDC is saying. The CDC is saying, and it was a constant debate of who was saying what and what was going down and who are we going to believe and who are we not going to believe. But it was a very also unique experience, especially for our town, because the week that the world shut down, or the US shut down, we were on spring break. So my kids were already home. They just never went back to school. It was extended vacation for them, So thankfully my mom owns her own business, and she was able to take the boys and start homeschooling them and stuff. Which they were used to because we had homeschooled the previous year. So it was really easy for them to roll right back in. But working so I was working part-time at the library, and then I took on a full-time job as well at a surgical hospital in Omaha. And that had the very unique, I just got really unique experiences with this whole COVID thing, because it wasn't a regular hospital. It was a surgical hospital. So it was all like elective surgeries. Like there were a few that were like, oh my God, we got to get this person in. But they started putting things in place. So both of the positions that I had, I didn't end up having to wear a mask until the end, like towards, it was probably middle of summer, at least, before I had to start wearing a mask. And that was at the hospital. That wasn't even at the library. The library completely shut down. So if people wanted books, they could still come and get books, but they couldn't come in the library. We have a drive-through window. So they would hit the bell and we would come and we would deliver whatever books they had put on hold. You know, and we stopped, like we started quarantining the books when they came back. And they would go into our study, like a cart full of returned books would go into a study room for X amount of days to decontaminate itself, basically. You know, but at the hospital that I was working at, I was working as an admissions person. And so I didn't end up having to wear a mask like until like the middle of summer, end of summer, because I was dealing with X amount of patients a day and their people, and they didn't really start enforcing anything. Like, so it was a very interesting and unique experience to watch. Like the rest of the world was just like shutting down in droves, you know, but here we are in this tiny ass town, excuse my language. And like, we're just kind of watching the world pass us by. It was very interesting. It was surreal. I think surreal is the word I'm looking for, you know? So, and meanwhile, I'm like, okay, I've done this work for myself thing. I've made my own money. I am not digging this whole go to work and give people my energy thing, because I am very much an introvert. Like this is where I thrive, in Zoom meetings where I can schedule things out and be like, okay, I'm going to give X amount of energy today in a Zoom meeting. Right. And then I can get done and I can go get into my PJs. So, you know, like I'm going to this place of business. They're expecting me to be there for 8 hours. And I am dealing with people who are getting ready to have surgery. So they are extremely high on the anxiety scale. And it got to a point where I would take patients back for pre-op, and their family members couldn't come with them. You know, and they were having surgery on their spine, you know, and they were freaking out. And so I got to the point, like I had a small hallway where I was by myself and I would stop and I would sob because you know, everything is running so high, tensions are running so high. And I just got to a point, I was like, I can't do this. I know how to make money for myself, and I can't do this. So I need to figure out what it is online that I'm supposed to be doing. And it was about that time that I was like, just kind of like the stars aligned, right? So money came in because we got our tax return. And then I got added to somebody's mailing list at just the right time. And I was like, hey, you know, I've done bookkeeping at other jobs. You know, I've had on-the-job training. Let me just make sure that I'm, you know, dotting my I's and crossing my T's. So I started what could have been like a month-long program. It took me 3 months to get through it, because I was working full-time, working part-time, and taking this class, and also trying to be a mom and a wife. So It's okay. I had this like little like time turner. I was working 36 hours in a day. It was fine. But I was like, I got to get through this. I got to get through this. I got to do this because I don't have the energy to give to other people. So that's what I did. Buckled my butt down. That's what I did.
So real quick, what was everyone's biggest worry then regarding their business and COVID last year and then this year? So what was your greatest fear, I guess, regarding your business and COVID? And if you want, I can start. My biggest fear was I wasn't going to be able to do skincare anymore. I was not in the headspace where I was like, I'm going to teach myself how to be a marketer and I'm going to be the best skincare marketer. Allie is laughing because she knows that that's just not me. Like I'm like you, Pedro. Like, I'm like, I can teach myself a little bit about XYZ, but we're smart enough to know where we start to plateau. And you know what? Our time is precious and we're going to pay the people that's their wheelhouse. I'd rather pay someone who is in the marketing field versus try to become a marketer myself. And so my biggest fear was I wasn't going to ever be able to do markets again. I wasn't going to be able to, because it got to a point where I felt like I was just figuring out my niche with skincare. And if only I had that one more market in person where I could that was the time where I was coming up with the food fragrances. And I was like, if I could only get this in front of, X amount of people, I know it'll be a hit. But yeah, my biggest worry was that was never going to happen. And also my biggest worry with my business was because everything began to become so much more politicized. I felt like as a business owner, and not as an individual, but as a business owner, I felt like eventually my business was going to have to pick a side. And it wasn't going to be, my fear was running a business, doing business was never going to be the same again, like how it was before COVID. And anyone who knows me knows that I'm extremely opinionated. I'm an extremely, I know it's so hard to believe, Allie, I know. But when it comes to my business, I really, for some reason, I get into this mode where, just like you do as a parent, before you're a parent, you're just like self-absorbed. I mean, anybody that has a kid knows that that's just how it is. Like we care about ourselves. And then when you have a kid, like it's all literally about that kid. And I feel like it's the same with the business. It's all about my business, but I just did not want my business to become politicized. And I don't know. I was just afraid that I wasn't ever going to be able to find my way to a successful business with how everything was going, with like COVID and wearing masks and people not wanting to wear masks, and everything just kept getting shut down. We would have an email go out, we're going to have a market this weekend at the Virginia Beach Farmers Market. And then, 2-3 days later, well, per the governor's orders, we have to shut it down. So it was just like a yo-yo effect. And I just felt like I just didn't want to deal with it anymore. And the sucky thing is in order to not deal with that anymore, I would have had to close my business. And I got to a really depressing and dark place where I felt like a failure if I closed my business. I felt like a business owner is supposed to do whatever they can to like dodge bullets and just keep going and be successful no matter what. And I felt like I was even more of a failure because I couldn't understand how someone with a business degree could let a business as easy as handmade skincare fail. And so it was just a lot. That was my biggest worry, was closing my business and ultimately just becoming this failure as a business owner. So
I'll say I had a ton of survivor guilt. So there's people dying, people sick, people not having income, people not being able to go out and get food. And I had all the things and the stuff plus more. And there's the Holocaust heritage where, you know, second generation American, and my whole family history before that gone in the war, and, you know, feeling very lucky and very privileged to have everything I have. But my biggest fear was watching businesses close, people lose their jobs while I thrived. It made me sick to my stomach because I did nothing to deserve it, but work as hard as everybody else. And it didn't seem fair. So I increased my charitable donations. I didn't care about what the minimums or maximums were tax related. I needed to give out. Ordered food to people, sent things all over the country. I really tried to shop small and shop local and not do everything through Amazon, because the people that I knew that worked at the local supermarkets, they need to keep their jobs. So I need to go shopping there. And it was very challenging to use all my energy to try to take care of others, because I felt like I wasn't important enough to matter. And I know that a lot of people would think that is so stupid. I had everything I could possibly need. I had work, I had income, I had food, I had everything. But it didn't feel like I had everything, because I'm literally trying to grab onto things that are slipping through my hands, and none of it was in my control. So I was just trying to juggle liquid. And I feel very lucky at how many of the businesses that I worked with made it through. I was very disappointed when people got terminated, but I understand why it happened. I feel very fortunate that a lot of the employers I work for had strategy set. We were able to help them make decisions of, if you cut by 25% and you do this and that and the other, and 3 months from now, what we'll do is we'll give them that money back, plus we'll pay for internet and phones because they had to use their personal homes, and let's make it worth everyone's while. We're all going to take a cut for a short time, and we're going to come back stronger later. And for some of the people, it really did work. So I feel lucky to have been involved in attempts that could have just as easily failed. But the worry and the fear of how many other people were going to be affected by this was devastating. It really was very scary. But I do recognize that myself and my husband and my son were fine. There was nothing wrong here. We were in perfect condition. And if anything, being in that good condition just let me have the wherewithal to help others as much as possible. So I'll just give a quick shout out to the Dave Thomas Foundation, because I threw as much money to places that took care of orphans, because imagine having sick family or being sick yourself. Who's hugging you tonight? And those kids don't have that. And that pulled at my heart so hard that I was like, I don't even care what I made. Take it. I'll be fine. Take it. Because how do you explain to children that don't have two parents to take care of them in a house to sit and play on their Switch to comfort themselves at night? You know, they're in a group setting, or they're going into a foster home. I mean, just, it's unfathomable what people went through that we didn't even get to see. So I did the only thing I could think to do, which is take the thing that I have that you need and go and do whatever you can with it, so that you can be better at the end of the day. Because I know I'll be okay. But there's a lot of people that were not okay. And I didn't know what else to do to help. You know, people made masks. We donated money for people to go and get fabric so they could bring it to the hospitals. I gave money to a local sandwich shop that was bringing every night bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches to the ER. I gave them my money. Here, buy your bread, buy your eggs, help the hospitals. I can't do it. I have other superpowers, but please go and do. But there was a lot of worry. And sometimes you just didn't have time to worry because you just had to get to work. And it still shocks me that there's people who are like home bored. I was never bored. There was so much happening. My God. But I do feel better prepared for should there be future emergencies. And I do try to empower my clients to have exit strategies so that they know, should an emergency happen, how much will it cost you? What will happen? How long can you hold on to payroll while you're closing up shop so that everybody's taken care of? So there were some good things that came out of it, but it was a scary time.
I think with me, I think one of the scariest things was not having control, because it's like, as I feel like as the head of my household, my wife, she doesn't work. She takes care of our children. They were already homeschooling anyway, before all this happened. So it wasn't a transition for that part for them, that they were already used to it. But as far as for, who's going to take care of the household, that's me, and then as far as who's going to make sure that the shop is there for the guys, that's me. I have 14 barbers, and then I had I think about 25 barber students, too. So, and so then it's like, when it happened, it was to the point where it's like, I don't have control over this. I used to have control over a lot of stuff, as far as what I'm into, but now I don't have any control, and I can't get the control either, so that was kind of scary. And then the fact that, during it, I was hearing about, different barbers, they were doing house calls and so forth. And they pretty much, I saw that a lot of my barbers were freelancers. So when you think about that, like the way that I'm able to pay the rent at the shop, during normal times, is my barbers being there. But now they're becoming freelancers. And what happens is, I think it was Allie, you said that you were cutting your child's hair, I think. So there were, was it okay, Sabrina, I'm sorry. So there were more people doing that. So so I was like, man, this thing's gonna change. I don't think it's gonna be the same, because some of my barbers, they probably won't come back. Some people that were at the barbershop, they probably won't never come back. So everything's just gonna shift from here forward. Like, it's just gonna be different. So it started looking kind of bleak for me. At the same time, even like I did say earlier, that I did do the online classes, the Zoom classes, but that was only for the people that were showing up on Zoom. Because that was early on. A lot of people didn't know how to use Zoom, and it got so frustrating to the point where they just wouldn't use it. They wouldn't log on because they couldn't do it. And so that was a challenge as well. And then pretty much the final thing was, I was kicking myself because I'm a person that likes to do online stuff. And I was like, you have so many people during this, I don't want to call it event, during this tragedy, pretty much, they were already set up online to still run their business. And here it is, I'm a person that does online, but I wasn't all the way set up. And when I say I do online, it's I've been dabbling with online like for years. And I didn't have anything like concrete set up to meet the need of anybody. And I was like, here I go. Because I was engrossed in my brick and mortar situations. And it was like, but who would have known? If I would have known it was going to happen, I would have been ready. Some people say, what did they say? About always, it's a slick saying. What is it?
Stay ready so you ain't got to get ready.
See, I ain't stay ready. See, and it's so true though, but I wasn't. And that even kicked at me. I'm like, look at this. I know I'm supposed to be ready, because I had the stuff, the means to have, I already had experience. And so it was just rough, not knowing the outcome, but I prayed a lot, and I figured that, it's going to turn out well, but I just wasn't sure. And then one final thing, if I can say a final thing. So we're sending applications in too. We want help, we want assistance. And I'm reading them, I'm seeing about other people getting assistance. I'm like, did they get our stuff? We calling, that did y'all, and got all these different numbers coming back, emails. And I'm like, we stacked up about 7 different numbers. When I say the numbers, I'm talking about your case number, you know, because we calling again in case they didn't really get the first one, you know, and that's desperation, because we know that, you know, eventually that savings money, that account money is just dropping, you know, and I don't know when it's going to get picked back up. So that's what we're going through.
Allie, did you want to say anything or no?
Sure. So end of 2020, you know, everything is pretty much in lockdown, or, you know, that they were, I think at that point they were talking about, you know, the vaccine, and they were hard at work with the vaccine and everything. My only concern was, how am I going to get this business started? Because, you know, I had finished my bookkeeping certification course, and I was like, how am I going to get this started? I can't go network, right? Like, I mean, I can network on Zoom, which was delightful, but it wasn't anybody in my area. It was people outside of my area. So I was still trying to figure out what the basis of my business was. And I was trying to figure out how I was going to market my business. You know, I knew that I was going to do it virtually so I could serve anybody around the US. But I wasn't sure like how I was going to get it off the ground. And by the end of 2020, I was still struggling. And my business didn't take off until March of 2021. And that was thanks to Clubhouse.
I was about to say, is that because of Clubhouse?
It was entirely because of Clubhouse. Apparently the link between my brain and my fingers does not work as well as the link between my brain and my mouth. Must just be the distance issue there. Because I could post all day long on social media, but nothing came of it. As soon as I got on Clubhouse and I was like, yeah, so this is kind of what I do. And here is what you were doing that you probably shouldn't be doing. People were like, hey, can we talk? I need to talk to you. Let me get on your calendar, you know? But I was really struggling. The end of 2020 was rough. Like, I was like, I just spent how much money on this course that was extremely well thought out. But it was a lot of money. I won't lie. Like, I was like, this is the most I've paid for a course ever in my life. And my husband's like, look, we better make this money back. And I was like, good God, I hope we do, because that's a lot of money, you know? So it took a little while, but I think with the help of, you know, audio, social media, and you know, finding the right people, I should say, you know, it's been an experience in itself, to be able to be like, oh yeah, I know a person in that field. Yeah, no problem. Hang on, let me hook you up with them, you know? And I'm learning so much about different businesses now because of Clubhouse, you know? So I think that, all in all, I think that COVID has let us expand how we reach out to other people. And I'm so very thankful for that. I'm really, really sorry that it took so many lives lost for us to figure out how to reach out to people, even around the world, like it did. And it's definitely been one hell of a wild ride. So, not saying that we're done with it, obviously, but, you know, the first round, if you will.
So Dontae, actually, I have a question. So I know that you're the co-owner of the art studio, but did you have any worries when it came to your art clients, like consulting?
No, actually. So it definitely made some changes in my businesses all around. as far as me consulting, so prior to, I had really, other than the artists that, I was already representing, I didn't work with artists one-on-one. It ended up being, tried to do it for a second. It was like kind of time consuming, working with people, one-on-one. And so I would only consult for, a couple of agencies, some nonprofits, I was on some boards and things like that, some think tanks, and having to sit down when everybody sat down, that really gave me the opportunity to get done some things that, I kind of had in mind, but had never just sat down to do. It was just really nothing to it but to do it, not to be cliche. And I just had never sat down to do it. So I got the opportunity to go in my cubby hole and create, do a lot of creating. And I really saw that there was an actual need to service artists individually because they didn't even know what resources were out there. So if I'm servicing an agency, they don't even know if the agency exists or how to get to it or anything like that. I'm not helping them. So I wanted to be more accessible. And I was able to see that there was a need by, putting some fillers out, sending some information out. And then that just assured me that, I should be doing this. And I started to really formalize it. And so initially, when I first started to do it, just to, put my feet on the ground, I initially was going, was a creative culture consulting. And that was just to do something. I made a digital business card. That was just to be all right, you stop procrastinating. You made this, you did this, and then once I started getting feedback and, saw, I was like, oh, okay, all right, hold up. Let me take this seriously. Let me do what it is that I know how to do so people can see that I know it so I can teach you. So let me go ahead and brand myself properly first, let me put this whole thing together. So then I stopped playing around. I took it seriously, put it together, and then, came out. And really, so this was the beginning of this year. And it was also a clubhouse for me. Really that real-time feedback, being able to build relationships a lot faster than you would just through email or something like that. You can usually hear whether or not you want to deal with somebody, whether you can tolerate somebody or whether you guys, hit it off, you love each other, whatever it is. You can get that in actually talking to somebody. So that, was a lot of insurance. I did a whole lot and still doing, a lot of things for free, just added value. But it's needed and everything circulates. So everything comes back, one way, shape, or form. So yeah, it birthed a different part of me really. I got to sit down and do, some screenwriting. I got hit up by a couple of TV producers. I really got to sit down and, get back into the things that I love to do as well versus having to handle everyone else's business before everything opened up. So it was cool for me. I'm an introvert, closet anyway, so I'll be fine.
You don't say. You're an introvert. I would have never guessed.
So I be chilling. That's it. I come out when I need to, and then that's it. When the show over, I'm back. I'm back in the cage, and that's it.
That's awesome. So here's another question then. How are you all able to stay successful despite the shutdowns and COVID restrictions? Because it sounds like a common thread is as COVID went on and as the lockdown went on, the light at the end of that tunnel that we all had begun to see, it started to get dim and dimmer. And hope started dwindling. And I think that was because, just like Pedro had said earlier, there was no control. None of us had control over anything. And I think as business owners, even if we're not control freaks, as business owners, we're just used to being able to manipulate various parts of our business. And this event took control away from everybody, business owner or not. And I don't think that a lot of people were even focused on success. A lot of people were focused on the other S word, which was survival. And so how were you able to stay successful or have a successful mindset despite the shutdowns and the restrictions?
So I had 2 survival techniques that came out as benefits in the end. And the first one was I started exercising before work because I don't have an hour commute into Manhattan from Long Island anymore. So I've got the time now. I don't have to get all pretty and dolled up. I can look just like this. So 2 reasons. And I found, and this is so odd, after it was at 14 years of working, all of a sudden getting all that rush and the adrenaline over with in the morning had me laser focused when I sat down at the computer. I wasn't distracted. I was killer instincts set in. And the second thing that happened was I decided to stop looking for sharper pencils. Every time mine dulled a little bit, instead of looking for another tool, I made mine sharper. I had a 20-page fuel sales tax report that you have to fill out by hand. And I decided I'm actually going to read it. I'm not just going to put numbers and lines. Let me find out why they want this. Where does it add up to? And all of a sudden, I became the best at that form. And that was when I decided I don't want to be anything else. I just want to be a better me, what I am. And now, a year later, I don't know anybody that can do it as good as me. And there's people who are out there pawning to get me because I became the best at what I do. I am prepared with an arsenal of weaponry to help businesses thrive and survive. And so those 2 things are what helped me stay successful, was focusing my mind and focusing my skills. But again, that entrepreneur attitude, that go get them despite the obstacles that are in front of you, that is what makes the difference between a business owner and someone who's trying to make a hobby into a career. When you have that entrepreneur spirit and that business background, nothing will stop you. If you have to take a different path, fine, but you're still moving. You don't stop. There you go. Sharpen it up.
I love it. I'll say, when I think about that question, I think about, and Ali was definitely there for it. And I think this was right before I met you, Sabrina and Dontae. I was still pushing the skincare earlier this year. And then we took a family trip down to Panama City, Florida and Louisiana. And Ali, and I was already, and I think I had talked to Ali before the trip, I was already in the mindset of I'm gonna close my business because I suck at this. That's literally what I was telling myself. I'm horrible at this. I wasted money getting a degree, and I'm horrible at skincare. And throughout my life, I have always asked myself and everyone in my circle, what is my purpose? God knows I'm oblivious. Like, he has to throw things like right at my face, and I'm pretty sure he laughs at me all the time because I'm oblivious. And I to be 100% honest, especially as an entrepreneur, I'm extremely jealous when I see other entrepreneurs just get it. Like, the light bulb is on, and like there's a party going on up there. They're just firing on all the cylinders, and they are just getting it, and they're just being super successful. And I was like, I know I'm driven. I know that I'm committed, or else I wouldn't have been able to get this degree. and graduate with honors and all of this stuff. Like, I know that I'm a hard worker, and why is it just not clicking? And so over the summer, I was just like, I'm going to close my business because I suck at this. Maybe I should just find a job. And there were many times where I would just be crying. I don't know if I called you, Allie, crying or not a couple of times, but I was just like, I was over it because I could not figure it out. And
I'm just hearing that when you met me, your life got turned around. That's what I'm getting from this conversation.
I will say, Miss Sabrina, when I met you financially, things started clicking, and this is I'm glad that I found Clubhouse as well earlier this year, because I think that without the network that I built on Clubhouse, when my light bulb went off in my head of what my purpose was, I don't think I would have been able to put the pieces together without that network of people to validate and confirm, you're actually pretty good at this, or yes, you're correct, keep doing what you're doing. But it got to the point where I would just sit and cry because I was just like, I'm a failure, whatever. And I was told by someone very close to me, don't close your business, just take a break. You need to take a break. And so I took a break, and I tried not to work on our trip, and I did anyway. And something told me, stop focus. You're focusing on the wrong thing. And so it was literally the equivalent to jumping off of a cliff and hoping that there was an ocean down there. There was an airbag down there. I felt like I was taking the biggest risk of my life, but I said, you know what? I'm going to breathe. And I'm going to be completely honest with myself. I dread making skincare when I wake up in the morning. I never said that I don't like the artistic portion of it where I get to experiment with different fragrances and colors and things, but it got to the point where I would just be like, I hope nobody makes an order. I mean, on one side, I hope somebody does make an order because I need the sales, but I hope nobody makes an order because I felt pressured to make sales, to create an income. And that is not why I want to be in any business. And so I took a leap of faith and I started doing things that I like to do. And it started out with painting. And I did not start creating art. I actually started creating art during the lockdown because it was something other than making skincare and making face masks. If I didn't have to touch another needle or another jar for skincare, I would have been perfectly fine. And I started buying canvases from Michael's and paint and stuff. And people were like, when I say people, I mean my mom, was saying, oh, that painting is really nice. And I was like, really? Because I had no technique at all. Like, I literally just poured some stuff, like I YouTubed some stuff, and I copied it and I poured like paint, and this is what happened. I was literally, when my mom said she liked my paintings, I was literally as happy as my 7-year-old when she makes a drawing that's supposed to be me, but it doesn't look like me. It looks like a pear and an apple or something. So I was super like, I was like, oh, if I can make my mom happy, how many other people will like my stuff? So I literally, like, my face is hurting because I'm smiling so big right now because I love it when my mom, is proud of what I do. And so that, I don't know, it just lit some type of spark in me. And so I started painting more, and I noticed that, I put myself through YouTube art school, if you will. I was taking time out of time I could have been playing video games, and I was teaching myself about art. And I'm not the artist in my family. My brother is. I can draw a mean stick figure, but other than that, don't ask me to draw anything. But I was getting pretty good at pouring some paint on a canvas. And I started getting really technical, learning about resin and learning about sealants and learning about different types of art. And I realized that before I knew it, I had like 20 canvases in my house and was not worried about selling any of them. I mean, it would have been awesome if I sold them, but my mom did buy one. But I wasn't worried about like becoming featured in a gallery. At that point, I didn't even know about galleries. I knew that painting made me happy. And that's when it clicked. On that trip, I said, I need to do something that makes me happy. Painting and art and crafts make me happy. And I remember I asked Allie one day, I said, can I put it all together? And she said, I don't think you should. She said, Tiffany, don't put art and skincare and everything else you do. It might be confusing. And because I'm
and I was wrong. I'm saying this on a recorded Zoom. I was very wrong. Okay. So we're clear on that.
Well, you know what? I'm very thankful for you. And there was another young lady that told me that I could not do face masks and art and all of that together because it would confuse my audience and it didn't make sense. And so I made a business out of it. And that's how I created Artisan-Preneur. And I restructured my business. And I think that's how I became so successful. I was focused on proving everyone wrong because I knew how it made me feel inside. And I knew that, I wasn't stupid. I knew I could sell art. People still buy art. Even with, the lockdown and COVID and everything, people were still interested in art. And as a business owner, I started taking note of how I felt. And when the light bulb started coming on in reference to certain things, I took note of how I felt when I spoke about my art, I'm getting goosebumps, how it gave me goosebumps. That has to mean something. And so I think what really was the turning point and where I pivoted in my business was I had to take a passion assessment, Allie. I had to take a passion assessment, and I had to really sit down and have a conversation with myself and answer, why am I even in business? Period. Why am I an entrepreneur? And if it's to just make money, then I need to not be an entrepreneur and I need to get a W-2 job. Because having the drive to make money is only going to take me, and I think anybody else, but so far. And so I figured out that I was passionate about art. I figured out that I think I was being placed, God was putting me in different places in my life for everything to converge one day. I finally realized, that's why I teach children. Thank you, Sabrina. That's why I've been teaching children grade 6 to 12 for the past 3 years. It's because I love teaching. And everyone knows that, teachers don't have high salaries, but I love teaching. And so putting my teaching together with my business degree and my art, I restructured my business to focus on creatives who did not understand how to treat their art or their craft as a business. And I was really, really focused on the foundation of creating a business. That is something that I realized after many free quizzes online that I was really good at. I'm really good at helping someone start their business, create a foundation for their business. And if I have to almost give away that information so that someone else can be successful. I said almost, Sabrina, almost.
Would you get that YouTube money already, please? Put it on video, get the AdSense up. Come on now.
But I felt like it made me feel really, really good. And I can tell you, ever since I was in the 5th grade, that is all I've ever wanted to do was help people. I knew I didn't want to be a nurse and help people that way, but I know that I spent the time and I'm committed and determined, and I got my degree. And not every creative, not every person goes to business school. And so why not use what I learned in school so that I can help other people not depend on companies, because we all saw what happened with COVID, and people that depended on W-2 income they were lost after they got laid off, or they didn't know what to do. And so I feel like my place and my purpose now, after I've pivoted, is to help people create their businesses, create a business surrounded by something that you know, some type of knowledge that you have, or something that you are passionate about, because that is something that you can never get laid off from. There will always be people that will not know something that you know. And I think that that is a very dependable way to make a living, because God forbid something happened to these or anything else, you always have what you know in your head, and you should always be able to create a business off of your knowledge and what you're passionate about. So that's how I was able to stay successful. I had to figure out what my purpose was, and I think I found my purpose. I found my purpose through my passion. Like that, yeah, how I did that little thing.
Well, you all, I got on a little late, so I wasn't able to hear all the introductions. Would it be okay if everybody leave their information in the chat? I'll leave mine in there so y'all can know about me. I would like to connect with all of you.
Yes, ma'am. I actually put everyone's information is in the chat, and
okay.
Innovation Center contact information is in the chat as well.
Okay.
So thank you. I actually just looked at the time. I think one more question, I think. Okay, yes, one more question. Last question. What are your future plans to continue to be successful during COVID and to continue to service your customers? So what are your future plans, and how do you plan to continue to service your customers or clients?
I know we're restructuring, part of the business model. One of the things that we're going to do, being a gallery, we really would just open, gallery hours, which I love. I had no problem with it at all. 12 hours a week, that's it. That's all I need to be open. But we've incorporated a bookstore actually into the gallery. So we're open as a bookstore during the non-gallery hours. So the bookstore is there from like 12 to 3. Then gallery is still not open until Thursday, Friday, Saturday, like 4 to 7 or something. So it's still short. But we're not letting the space just kind of sit there. If we have the space, we can be using it to make the money. So we're going to be utilizing that. One of the things that we were doing before COVID hit is we were serving food. We were serving as like a temporary, not like a pantry, more like a distribution center. We had a couple of deals with Trader Joe's and Treehouse Cares and stuff like that, where they would give us, hundreds of pounds of food. We were giving out food every week. We've since gotten with someone to put together a deal where we're now going to be a state-sanctioned food pantry now. So we'll be getting paid now to do the stuff that we were doing for free before. So we actually get to still help people, but now we get paid, so that's good. So I don't have to eat any of that food that I'm serving, because I need it too. So that's going to be beautiful. So we're working that out. Like we already had a couple inspections. We just got some cabinets up there. Now they like requiring us to get like an industrial, fridge or something like that. I'm like, all right, whatever. So we're working all that stuff out. And we're working with technically I'm working with a independent consultant who's representing a nonprofit, but we're going to be using our daytime hours as well to use like art therapy and classes for like children with developmental disabilities. So we can get, some funding on as well too. So I'm actually working on right now 3 different grants that everything goes through, should be bringing us in about $140,000 to run that program annually. So, trying to get as many of those in as possible. And then of course it'll do everything that we do on top of that, but really maximizing, all the time that we have. Cause I got it 24 hours. Like, can't nobody stop me from coming in the building. If I went off and I'm there working like literally all night in there anyway. So it's like, you know, why not utilize, you know, more of this time and stuff. So that's what I'm pivoting on now.
Awesome. Anyone else?
So one of the things that I'm focusing on is helping businesses understand the importance of cash flow so that they know where their books currently are. And I'm really trying to keep my standard high by saying that if you work with me, you have to understand that we're going to keep your books current. And that is where I draw the line. If you tell me just once a month, once a quarter, because you're trying to save some money or whatever, I'm not actually doing you a full service. This is not a la carte. I'm a professional, and you don't tell your lawyer, oh, just work on the part of the lawsuit that I'm interested in. Don't look into anything else. That's not my profession. And my profession is to make sure that you're up to date, current, and prepared. Because when stuff hits a fan, I can be accountable for the fact that you are prepared. And if you don't want that, then you don't want me. And that is totally okay. But I feel that the clients that I have and the CPAs that I work with are so grateful for having their books up to date so that people can project forward, make budgets, make healthy cash flow related decisions. And I'm trying to keep the standard high, which is hard because it's easy to just say, bring it all on and I'll just deal with it. I'll juggle balls of all different sizes. And I'm really trying to stick to my guns on this and say, if what you want is the best surgeon, you have to go with the best surgeon. You can't go with a cheap surgeon and say, I hope you do the same thing. You're at the top of the class or the bottom of the class. Don't go in between, especially if insurance covers it. So that's really my plan post-COVID, is to do my job to the best of my ability and to not go below that, because it can only go up from here. As a saying in the bookkeeper circle, that the CPAs are like the doctors, the bookkeepers are the nurses. They do the real job. They check your heartbeat. They're taking your stats. They're making sure you get your medicine. And if you ignore your nurse and you mistreat your nurse, she might not show up for her next shift, but their job is to take care of you. And it's like an unspoken oath by the bookkeepers. I'm not interested in your money. I'm interested in your success. So trying to keep everything at that level and above, and not revert to, I'll take on any old job just because it's going to pay. That's not what I'm interested in. Like you said, I have a passion for numbers, and I want to be involved in a relationship with businesses that respect that my passion can be their numbers, but only if they'll let me help them. And that's my job.
Mr. Harris?
As far as from the school point of view in the future, I want us to, we have to keep helping people. You know, one of the ways that we help, we're going to Booker T. Washington High School in Norfolk this weekend. It's going to be from 10 to 1 to give out free haircuts. They're going to be doing vaccinations there at the same time. So that's going to be special. I look forward to doing that, but just more community events to where we can just give, especially to ones that are disadvantaged. We already currently go to Newport News, the day center, twice a week for those ones. They're not allowed to stay there, but they go there to get cleaned up and everything. So situations like that, I want to always remain involved with. As far as the barbershop is concerned, I'm kind of in limbo with that one. I want to say that COVID might have impacted some people so differently to where some people are a little bit more selfish. You know, like kind of changed some mindsets a little bit. It seems like, I mean, each of us on this panel might think differently about it, but I guess it might depend on what direction we're looking at. I don't know. Maybe it didn't turn out that well for some people mentally, you know, in the ego area. I don't know. But when I talk to my clients, they say the same thing in their workplaces, you know, so it's just a little bit different. It could be the boom in social media, people receiving the wrong information thinking it's real when it's really social media, you know. And so with the barbershop, like I said, I'm in limbo. But as far as me, I feel like I've been saying lately a lot that I want to work more with things than people. Does that sound crazy?
No.
Because I feel like working with things more than people, that's kind of COVID proof. You know, we we're thinking about like, what if, I think Sabrina might've said it before, like, what if it happens again? What if something else happens? Well, so now I have products that are on their way, that I'm doing products now. It's the same brand, but it's going to be like pomades and gels and all kinds of, I got this big old assortment of products, and I'm going to just be selling them. That way I want to deal more with things than people. Things don't talk, and they don't have personality issues and stuff like that. Well, I keep the barbershop. It's probably one of the most successful barbershops in this area. So I probably still keep it, but how much I invest in it, that remains in question. But I definitely want to kind of veer in my future. I want to veer towards products and continue to maintain the school.
Okay, Ms. Allie?
So after, starting a business, taking a brief hiatus from said business because of, complete overwhelm of amount of people that Clubhouse provided to me. I have come back stronger, and I'm going to keep moving forward and doing what I do. And I'm actually creating a course because as Pedro so kindly pointed out, we only have so many hours in a day, and only so many people can get my hours in a day. So I'm trying to create residual income so that, people are still getting a piece of me. I only have to provide it once though. So I think right now, like, my focus is getting that launched before, honestly, I would love to see it launched by the end of the month. But that's a whole lot of videos to create with the idea of keeping them short, sweet, and to the point, because not everybody loves numbers as much as Sabrina and I do. Unfortunately, it's a sad fact. And I'm going to keep doing what I do. I'm going to keep going on to Clubhouse and talking to people and giving away information and answering questions like Sabrina and I love to do. And just keep meeting people, I think what's really cool is that I have been able to make my introverted heart very happy by only dealing with the people that I want to deal with. The great thing about Clubhouse is that I can quietly leave and nope right out of that situation. And so I love that button, and I use that button on a regular basis when it doesn't feel right for me. And I don't have to deal with people now that I don't want to. And if you want my time, here's my appointment link. So I don't have to give you my energy if it doesn't work for me. And I'm going to keep setting those boundaries. I'm learning about boundaries because I got so used to saying yes all the time. And so I'm still learning about boundaries and being like, it's like a no energy kind of day for this girl. So we're probably going to need to like reschedule, so, and I'm just learning, like Sabrina said, I'm trying to make myself better, trying to make sure that my clients are well taken care of, because I love everything that my clients are doing. And I'm so excited for all the next things that my clients have. So I want to make sure that I can help them from every direction that I can. So.
And let's see, for me, future plans with Artisan-Preneur, I feel like we're literally just like we just got started. So plans with that is I kind of want to do the same thing as far as creating digital products and digital resources for people to have access to on a continuous basis, because I'm the same way. Like there's only one me. And so I have a million other things going on. As much as I would love if I had a whole bunch of consulting clients, that's just not realistic. And as Ali says a lot, if you're going to pay for a $10,000 service, you got to give $10,000 energy. That I don't have that much energy. And so I think in the future, I really do want to, and hopefully before, actually, I know before Christmas, I want to get those digital revenue streams set up and in place so that I have those in the background. I would like a handful of clients, like literally 5 or less, 5 or less clients. Because I still like working. I still like working with people and I still like helping people. But I had to sit down and acknowledge what I can realistically take on and still provide a high quality experience for, if that makes any sense. So I still do want to have a handful of clients that I work with on a monthly basis. But that's for Artisan-Preneur. Really, the core of that business is allowing me to do what I love to do, and that is create. And so I have created or begun to create a team, Miss Ali, and I have a social media marketing manager who is helping me to get out of that solopreneur mindset. And I've learned that with my team, with my growing team, I'm really able to actually do what I want to do. And that's provide value and quality to a large amount of people at one time. With the gaming cafe, that's really taking up the majority of my time at the moment, because we, like I said in the beginning, are pitching to investors in December. And this is a upwards of $1.5 million project. And so it's taking a lot of time and research. For some reason, I must be nuts because I love it. And I'm hoping that we get investments. I don't know anything about the investment process, so this may be unrealistic, but I'm hoping to get investments and then hopefully begin building or establishing the business in the community next year, because I'm a gamer. My kids are gamers. My husband's a gamer. We know gamers. And we also know that, especially due to the lockdown, there's really no physical place for us to go and hang out all together, just like someone that loves football would be able to go to the Super Bowl. Like there's really, like in person in our area, there's really nothing like that, except for one other establishment. But other than that, there's no place that we can socialize in a healthy manner in our industry. So I am working really, really hard. Me and the other 2 co-founders are working really, really hard to get everything together to make this a reality by 2022. So that is, and then also, being on Clubhouse and providing information on Clubhouse to people and hanging out with my lovely bookkeepers and virtual controllers. You're not a bookkeeper. There you go. So yeah, I'm kind of in the same space that you are, Pedro. Like, I love talking to people and interacting. Obviously, I can run my mouth all day, but you're right. Products and digital, things, that's just a whole nother, I think it brings almost a certain level of peace to some people, because you don't have to worry about COVID shutting down your website where you may drop ship or you may provide products or virtual services. So I think with Artisan-Preneur, that's the route that I think I'm trying to go, is provide more virtual services as compared to the with the gaming cafe. Go ahead, Pedro.
And I just want to add to it, just to piggyback off your point. When I say people, like less people and more things, and it comes from this stress. I mean, and this is a cumulative stress over the years of, any of us here that are in business, we always have to, most of us, we need a team. And so we already know what level we're on the team, but it's like, okay, well, what level can they maintain this level? It's always so many fluctuations and excuses, and and I'm like, I can't, I'm kind of,
no one
products.
will love your business.
The product, I know the product is just going to stay the product, and it's just going to sell, but I know that if I have these three people, which two are going to remain on the level that they're supposed to be on for us to be successful, or all three, or is it just going to be, and it becomes, so I said, yeah, I want to focus on the digital downloads too, that you all mentioned. I've been thinking about that too. It's just things.
See, I'm coming to get my haircut tomorrow. So, I can bring the list of digital downloads with me.
Come on up there. I'll be there.
So I would like to thank all of you guys for taking out the time to discuss all of this information about COVID in our businesses. Once again, the links to contact the Innovation Center, as well as everyone's contact information, is in the chat. And this will be available. The recording will be available on our YouTube channel by tomorrow evening. So once again, thank you all for coming out and having this discussion. I'm going to leave this open for about 2 more minutes, just so that if anybody wants to grab any information from the chat, you can do so. So if there is nothing else from anyone, thank you. And I hope to have another panel discussion with you guys sometime soon.